This computer, the last one got lost. I didn't bother to save it. We're sponsored by redIT and 34SP, and we are going to record this meeting. And if you have trouble with that, then you can just turn off your video, etc.
Is that a picture of how you're feeling now?
I was a bit blunt. I thought I was blunt.
Right, so where have we got to? We're going to cover 25 top tips for SEO.
Put in the time. Yeah.
It's only past. It's pissing down with rain now. Right, so this 25 top tips for SEO talk basically is an extract from a number of different videos from Yoast SEO Academy. And if you wanted to do the course, you can click on the link on academyyostseo.com courses SEO for beginners, and you can go through each of the individual videos, which is what I did. And you can also read all of the PDFs that they provide, and you can answer the quiz. And if you get it wrong, you can have another go and answer the quiz until you get 100% on everything. And eventually, after more than an hour and a half, you will have completed the SEO for Beginners course. And now, since we haven't got any time left, we will actually try to complete that in maybe half an hour, and then we can get on to our own discussion about all the different things that we believe we know about SEO. So watch that 1 hour and 25-minute video if you haven't got time to go through the course itself and you just want to have a big brain dump of it all from Yoast SEO, and if you don't understand some of the terms, you can go and read that PDF file there. Now, I haven't used any of their images apart from that Yoast SEO Academy thing because they are copyright, but I have used an awful lot of words that taken from their course. But what they don't do is they don't provide a simple list of 25 top SEO tips. So here we have 25 top SEO tips.
Just very quick. Sorry, just very quickly. Can you those resources? Can you put them into the chat later at the end?
This PDF file is already on WP-Pompey.org.uk. So
okay,
find it there.
Okay, thank you.
This is the version that's on the website is version 0.0.0, which is 10 minutes older than this one.
Cool, thank you.
Right, so 25 top tips. Where have they gone? So there they all are. So is that good enough? Taken that all in, have you? And there's 5 don't do top tips as well, which we won't cover, but we can discuss those things later. So these are not necessarily in the right order, but apart from maybe the first one, but it doesn't really matter because you don't actually do SEO in the right order. As we discover, you do it holistically. So let's move on, dive straight into the first thing. What we want to know is, first of all, what is SEO? And it stands for Search Engine Optimization, or as Steve said, it also stands for Search Engine Optimizer, which is a person that does SEO in the same way that as a computer that does computing things, and a computer was somebody who used to do computing things before they had computers. How do search engines work? Well, first thing you need to know is that in the UK, 93% of people use Google to do their searches. And there are other percentages of search engines that people use. And I recently heard of Ecosia from the WordPress Cambridge Meetup, but I've never used it. In fact, I've never used Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, or Yandex either. In other countries, people use other search engines. Russia uses Yandex and China uses Baidu, which if you've ever had a look at your logs, you will find search engines are indexing your website, and Baidu does an awful lot of it. Whether or not your results get displayed to people in China, you won't know unless you go and use their search engine. Now, what do search engines do? They have these things called crawlers or spiders or bots, and they go around the website looking for links, and when they find a link, they go and look for content, and headings and more links. And they take all of this information and bung it into an enormous index. And then they have an algorithm which looks up that index whenever you put a search into your favorite search engine, which may or may not be Google. And then that search engine shows you a search engine results page. And the results that are displayed take into account the fact that your site is nice and quick, and it's got good content, and it's secure, and it's got lots of nice links both internally and externally. And the way you can tell Google that you've got a website is you can register your sitemap in Google Search Console. Now, all of that information you would have gathered had you watched the video linked there, youtube.com watch, and it would have taken 6 minutes. So if I took longer than 6 minutes, I've wasted your time. You can also read the Search Engine for Beginners PDF, which will tell you the same results. Second video, search engine results pages. So the first thing to understand is that they're sort of displayed in order of the things that are most important. And if you happen to be at number 1 in the list of the search engine results pages, you will probably get 33% of people visiting your website clicking on it. If you're at number 2 or 3, and there's some typo there, you will get 17% or 10%. 90% of people will click on results on the first page and not bother to go to the second page. Search engine results are constructed in different types of results, and you have snippets which basically display the URL, I'll say URL, title and meta description. So if you're using Yoast SEO, you can attempt to fill in a meta description, and Google may display that in the search engine results. There are other types of results. There are rich results, featured results, and here we can also see an answer box and a knowledge graph. Google and other search engines have their algorithm for deciding how to display this. So, search engine optimization, improving sites to make them high in the results of a search engine. And so beginners SEO is basically write quality content and improve the internal linking. Join or build a community to help do your SEO sort of as off-page stuff, and improve your site speed. So if you're going to think of 3 things to do with regards to search engine optimization, do that. Write good stuff, let people know about it, and make your website quick enough so they can read it. That's the third video, I think. So Yoast talk about their SEO as being holistic, which means everything. So you can't just do one thing, you have to do all of them. And all those 8 things are keyword research, whatever that is, good technical SEO, a great user experience, write good stuff, original content that you've written yourself, solid social media strategy, make it work on mobile, make sure your website's secure, and make sure it's accessible. Does anyone want to ask any questions as I go, or we're going to leave it until later on? I'll take that as a no.
Up to you whether we ask now.
This person here is sitting there playing on her phone.
I'm writing down points out of 10 for your delivery.
Oh, thanks. She hasn't even brought me a beer.
What have you?
She could do.
Herb, in that one, in the tricks to avoid, you've got page swapping.
Yes.
Sorry.
Page swapping. Now, I didn't know what this was. It's you create a website, a page on your website, which people come to visit a lot. And once it's got nicely ranked, you then change the content of it to something else you want, other message you want to give. And that's basically a bit of a no-no.
Right.
So if your page was, for example, how to install Imagic on your Windows machine, which is what people come to visit one of my websites for, apparently. And I was to change that to my favorite ice cream parlors in the UK or something, it wouldn't be a good idea.
Thank you.
So next video, you can find out how holistic SEO works. And it basically says your user comes to your website and he likes the look of it and he sees it's nicely structured and it's got great content and it doesn't break and it's nice and quick and there's some navigation and yes, you've got a good story and people want to read it and so on. Basically, they spent a few minutes telling us that you've got a great good content and sorry, I've got to let someone in. Good content and have it displayed beautifully as well.
In all these type of talks, what I don't quite understand is how the search engine knows what great content it is.
We'll come on to that. They tried to tell us that as well.
Okay.
So what they like to tell us is the one way of creating all this good content is you can use the Yoast SEO plugin because it will do some analysis for you and it will help to optimize your text for SEO. I must have missed something. Did we cover keywords at all? Maybe that comes next. So the Yoast SEO plugin will help you with your SEO analysis, which is making sure that your text is nicely written for whatever thing you want people to search for, and also help you write good sentences on good stories. So you have to have the right length sentence, you have to have the right length paragraphs, you have to have the nice headings, and you also have to have transition words in between one paragraph or one sentence to the next. And they say it's nice using Yoast SEO because you can have a preview of what your website will look like on Google, or if something gets shared on Facebook and Twitter, you can preview that. Another great reason for using Yoast SEO plugin is it gives you a nice breadcrumbs capability, which is useful for when you're viewing content which is structured in pages or when you're viewing posts which are structured in categories or tags. And then other advantages, it has capability of displaying this data using schema structured data, which is technically good stuff. You can publish an XML sitemap so the search engine knows exactly what you're talking about. And you can also reduce duplicate content by using canonical URLs. There you go. That video would have taken you 10 minutes to watch. The SEO Premium plugin, which costs a few bob, allows you to do more SEO analysis. You can add 4 related key phrases to your content, and you can also have synonyms, and it will also do word form recognition, so that if you happen to have a key phrase which is 25 top SEO tips, then it could be 25 top SEO tip. Wasn't a very good example, was it? It analyzes your site structure and helps you with creating internal links. It can also tell you if you've managed to create orphan content, which is content that can't be accessed from the menus, but happens to be there on your website, and also has improved Facebook and Twitter previews. There's also a redirect manager, so that if you happen to delete some content, then you can redirect users who might be following that link to something which is more relevant, and so on. And then because you're paying for a premium plugin, you can get 24/7 support, and also you don't get to see all the adverts all the time.
You also get full use of the Yoast Academy as well.
Yeah, and it can do all of the nice courses that they provide. So for 89 quid or something, you can get a lot of stuff. Has anyone used premium often?
No.
So one of us should one day, I suppose, shouldn't we?
I keep threatening to.
I nearly did. but I might be tempted to go and have a look at Rank Math. No, there is one good reason for using it, I think, is there's four WordPress blocks, related links, table of contents, siblings and subpages. Now, it's not hard to write these particular things, but hopefully they would be structured nicely and built well and would save the effort of writing them. So I might just get it to have a look at those.
How much is the premium plugin over the, well, I said over the free one, obviously it's more, but how much is it?
£89 for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, it's quite reasonable then.
If you decide to go and buy a bundle of that plugin plus video SEO or that plugin plus local SEO, then you can pay 129 and save a few quid. Or if you decide to buy the whole lot of the premium plugins, it's got you about 199.
Right.
I'm sure if you waited until a Black Friday, you can probably get it much cheaper.
If you buy it and you use it to start with, do you lose out on anything if you don't pay for the renewal or anything like that? Does it cut out any functionality at all with what you've already created? Do you know?
I don't know, but I assume that you'll end up not getting updates to that particular version.
Okay.
They do a lot of updates.
But if you've already created your SEO for your site, so I'm presuming, like we've said previously, it's something that needs constant attention. But if you've done it for a site and you're happy with it, that it's going to last a little while, and it comes to renewal, you won't lose anything that you've already created.
I don't think it will not display content.
Okay.
I mean, the tools, the SEO analysis with 4 related key phrases, it's going to help you when you're creating your content.
Yeah.
The tool won't be there if you deactivate the plugin. It won't be there, but your content will still be there.
Sure. Yeah. I was just curious because with a lot of the stuff, once you've already done it, the majority of it you wouldn't necessarily need to purchase it again. You could possibly get away with just using the free version after you've done the initial creation of the site and initial SEO.
Yeah, I think these are processes that run on your content. So if you didn't have the premium plugin paid,
right,
those functions would stop working.
Okay, all right, Steve. Yeah, that's useful to know actually.
I still haven't paid out to try it.
Okay.
So put pound in a somewhere, piggy bank. Get it all together and buy one. She's writing notes. She's not writing notes. Moving on. Why doesn't it move on?
Oh, there's one thing I could mention on the free version is you definitely want to have the XML sitemaps turned on, but I don't think it's enabled by default. So you need to go in and enable that. That's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. I looked at the Yoast sitemaps. They were quite interesting. So what can't this plugin do? Well, the first thing it can't do is it can't configure itself. So you have to fill in some answers. And it can't do your key phrase research because it doesn't know your audience and it doesn't know your search terms. It can't check your competition. Can't write your content for you, but you can just comment on it and it won't be able to set up and maintain your site structures. So there's some work you have to do yourself. All right, here we are. What are keywords? Keywords or key phrases? The word that describes the content on a page best. So, what does it tell us here? Keywords or key phrases are supposed to be used in your content because what's the point of having them if you don't use them? And you're supposed to use them about 1 to 2% of your time. And it likes it if you happen to put it, the keyword or key phrase, in your title, in the first paragraph of your content, in the meta description, which is something that it likes you to fill in, and elsewhere within the content. And if you're able to do this and include your keyword or key phrase in a subheading, even better, although it's really quite difficult thing to do, to write something that doesn't read wrong, but just because you happen to be putting all this keyword in the right place. And one thing that helps is you have to write a bit more content than this page, for example. You have to write more words. Now, if you want to get high in ranking, then best thing to do is to use what's known as a long tail keyword, because these are less common searches, more specific to your particular website, business, whatever. There's less chance of getting traffic, but it's easy to rank for it. And the idea is, once people have filled in a particular keyword in their search, that you appear number one or on the first page of Google and not on the second or third page. So if you're starting out, don't try to use what's known as head keywords, which is very short ones like SEO or top 20 SEO tips.
What is a long tail keyword?
Long tail. Can you give some example of short, mid and long tail keywords?
I can give you an example of a long tail keyword. I've been writing all over my paper.
One thing I would say here, Herb, is that keywords, using them fairly often is not necessarily recommended anymore. We tend to work on having groups of related terms. So Google will suss out all the relationships between them and then use that to index. If you keep on repeating the same old term over and over again.
Oh, well, that's the don't use keyword stuffing thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
So you don't
write as though you're explaining it to somebody.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, if you wouldn't say it, don't write it.
Well, I would, yes, you'd say, oh, we sell the best ice creams in Portsmouth. We sell the best ice creams in Chichester. We sell the best ice creams in...
Yeah, that wouldn't work so much these days.
But if you're able to say, we sell ice creams in Portsmouth on Monday, and then we go to Chichester on Tuesday, and we go to Fareham on Wednesday, and we sell brilliant ice creams in each one of those places, you probably do a bit better. So yeah. Andrew wants an example of a long tail keyword. So it would be, have a look at your firm's website and tell us one of your page titles.
Well, what you could, a good simple example is if you did a search for shoes, that would be a short term. If you then put a long tail term, it would be red training shoes in Portsmouth.
Okay.
And a mid-term one would be
Red shoes.
Red training shoes.
There's also a thing called search intent, which I don't think is a beginner's thing. Is what is Google can tell from what words you type in what you're actually trying to achieve. So if you type in red shoes in Portsmouth, it might think you're looking for red shoes in Portsmouth. If you're typing in cheapest red shoes in Portsmouth, it will probably show you a different set of results.
Okay.
Keyword research is something it tells you to do all the time, and we'll probably come on to this, but it might not be the easiest thing to do because of all the complicated tools you have to use. Keyword research. So how do you find keywords that help you rank? And basically you have to use your brain and think about what your company does, what's its mission, what's its values and strengths, and what are your unique selling points, USPs, and what is it that your customers will be typing in to try to find the things that you've got to offer. And one way of doing this keyword research is to use Google Trends, and you can compare search terms. Now, whenever you are thinking about people coming to find stuff, you can think about your competition as well and have a look to see what what you think your focus keyword is and have a look at what your competition have got. And you can have a look to see how your results compare by using an incognito screen or a virtual private network. Because otherwise Google will be, if you don't do that, Google will be offering you the answers it thinks you need to know. And that's not the answers that someone else needs to know. So you do your keyword research, you decide what you're going to write about, you put that into your content, you write it, and then you'll notice over time somehow your content ranks higher, appears higher up in Google. Now, it doesn't tell you how you're going to find out if you're ranking higher other than by doing the search. But that's not Google, that's not SEO for beginners, that's SEO for more advanced people. Right, so back to the focused keyword or key phrase. How do you use that one? And we've covered this before, but they cover it in more detail in this particular video. You type it into the focused keyword thing, and it then goes and does a search for you and comes back and says you really need to use your keyword in the first paragraph, in the title of content, in the meta description, in one or more subheadings somehow, and in the URL, which you might get just by typing it into the title. And when you let Yoast SEO do it, it will say if your content is nice and friendly, and if it's not, you can try to improve it. And what focus keyword should you use? Well, as I said, use Google Trends, or you can purchase SEO Premium and it will give you some insights. Now there's a message here, don't use the same focus keyword more than once. What that says is you can use it in your content of a particular page, but you don't use that in your content of multiple pages, because otherwise you'll be competing against yourself. So why have you got to write good content? Because it improves the user's experience. And Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it accessible and useful. So if you don't give it good stuff, it won't be able to give good stuff. The better you write your text, the better you'll appear to your visitors. And so well-written text with a clear message implies you're going to get a lower bounce rate and therefore better rankings. Now, I don't know how they actually go and measure all that sort of stuff, but apparently high bounce rates is not good, because less time people spend on your website, less chance you have of showing them things and getting them to buy stuff or getting them to believe you or whatever it is. And apparently good copy earns trust, and typos and shaky writing raises doubts. Do we all agree with that?
Can they see that?
Hopefully they can see this, yeah. They can't.
Still don't quite understand how Google measures what well-written text is, and I don't know if it's doing heuristics around bounce rates and kind of like sentence length and paragraph structure. I don't know. Is that kind of like what's being suggested?
That's what's suggested, and if you watch that video, that's what you'll hear. I didn't particularly understand it because I don't know how Google measures bounce rates. We had that sort of discussion at Cambridge, didn't we?
Yes.
With bounce rates. And
Google have just updated their guidelines that they send out for testing. They've got about 10,000 testers. I'll put the link in the chat. It's 172 pages. So these are the things that their testers assess how the search engine is working.
ah,
Google did 4,800 changes to the algorithm last year.
I think a good thing to have is the Google Site Kit, isn't it? That gives you a lot of insights as to various bits and pieces on there, because you can obviously run the page speed insights and AdSense and everything else from that.
yeah.
That's worth installing.
No, do you?
And it's free.
It's free, yes. All these marvelous tools to use. And Google Analytics and all that stuff. I'll just pause my screen sharing.
One of the biggest barriers to doing SEO is the cost of the tools. From my point of view, my clients don't have the budget
Yeah.
to pay to do proper in-depth SEO, which means that I can't afford to invest in those tools.
No.
I have a question. I don't know. My question is, how much time would you devote to each page towards SEO?
Depends on how important it is to you, I suppose.
Give me a
There's some pages which are more important than others, and we'll come on to those.
It's like anything, Andrew, the more time you put into it, the more you're going to get back from it, basically. You know, when I've had a play with SEO, the more time I've spent sort of crafting various bits on it, the higher I've got the scores. But one of the problems is that it's not instant. It takes a couple of weeks before you really see the true figures coming back. So you can't make changes today and it will appear tomorrow. I've seen it happen over the period of about a month or sometimes more, actually. So
it can take 6 months to a year sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it's
the
a
other
trial and error process as well.
Yeah.
Our website's got 1,000 pages. So if you take 5 minutes a page, it's just unfeasible.
you're not going to get very far.
The first thing you would do really is look at your analytics data and see what pages are ranking, and then decide to pick one or two to work on to try and improve it.
Yeah, it's getting people to the site in the first place and moving them on from there, really, isn't it? It's the pages that the important ones that you think will draw people in to encourage them to come back. Those are the ones you really want to work on for your SEO. It's pointless doing it for all of it because, you know, it's probably just a lot of wasted effort. You'd have probably key pages that would bring people to your site.
And
then you could also use internal linking to link them off to other related pages as well.
Yeah.
Right. We'll come on to that.
To say it's also not a once or do it and leave it. It's a constant evolving thing. It's a living, breathing entity. You need to keep rechecking and changing and modifying and updating.
Yeah, definitely.
A lifetime of pain.
Yes, people aren't so keen on eating ice creams in winter. Right, I wish it would scroll up. Right, so our next video, how to write great content for SEO. And it tells you, do your keyword research, pick the right focus keyword, and then write the content that makes use of that and make it original, readable, and findable. Have fresh ideas, add something to what other people have said or a new way to do something. And there you go. Use your focused keyword. It repeats what we found before. So if you read that PDF file, copywriting 22nd of January this year, that was quite a good one. So how do you improve the readability? And the answer is use paragraphs, use subheadings, start each paragraph with a topic sentence, which is what this paragraph's about, and then rest of the paragraph elaborates on it. Keep things short and clear. Don't write complicated gobbledygook. Make text scannable, whatever that means. And apparently shorter sentences are better for voice search.
Oh.
So who sells the best ice creams in the south of England? We sell the best ice creams in the south of England. Not. We honestly believe that, having chatted to 45,000 people in the last 10 years, that some of our ice creams are considered to be the best in Hampshire Sussex and Dorset.
Move on.
Been told to move on. So how do you create a great site structure for search engine optimization? And apparently the site structure is crucial for usability of the site and findability of the site. You have a navigation menu somewhere on your site which helps users navigate it. So normally we have that at the top. And you can categorize your posts and your products so they're easier to find. And a good structure helps Google see what your site is about content-wise, which is most important to you, and what your goal is getting people to visit your site. You can use categories and tags on posts and products, and you can include these in your navigation links to make it easier for people to find. One thing I read recently was you shouldn't use too many tags, but you should use at least each tag at least twice. So where on, what's it called? Pinterest, not Pinterest, the other one. Instagram, people use hundreds of hashtags. That's basically a no-no for WordPress websites. Right, I imagine you've all read the right-hand side already. Take visitors by the hand and guide them. Don't compete with yourself. And cornerstone articles are the most important things, and they should link to related posts and vice versa. So what is cornerstone content? So which is the most important content on your website, Andrew? Is it the About Us page? Is it the Buy Our Products page? Is it the everything you wanted to know about hardy ferns, or what?
I sent you this only today, so you know the answer.
Mm.
But I think the answer is how to collect spores, or how to grow ferns from spores.
Yeah.
According to Google Analytics, it's our most visited page.
Oh, right. And do you know what sort of people are trying to do it?
Not a clue, no.
Are they fern specialists or just people who want to know?
If I understand Google Analytics correctly, most of our users find us by doing searches. So they're not, I think most of our users are new rather than returning ones. So these are probably people doing a Google search thinking, how do you grow ferns from spores?
Mm.
So I guess they're not experts, but want to know, what this is all about.
Does that happen to appear as a main link on your website, or is it somewhere hidden?
Well, in the menu is something, I think it says ferns, and then underneath that there's a sub-menu which probably says spores, and then when you go into that there's a whole lot of sub stuff about spores.
Right. So would you say, looking at the bottom right hand corner here of proper internal linking bit, a little pyramid, or an attempt at a pyramid, would you say that your how to find spores is a cornerstone article, or is it a level below that?
I don't understand the definition of cornerstone.
Right, so we'll have to read this. Cornerstone content, the most important articles on your site. Articles that you want to rank for or reflect your mission. So they're fairly long articles, they're timeless, you keep them up to date, and they're very informative, and they're prominent in your site structure. So they're the first things that someone would get to if they went down the menu.
No, not really. The reason why they're important is because they appear to be the highest thing that people are searching for.
Mm.
And our mission is to tell people all about ferns. So it's part of our mission, but it's only one part. Growing ferns from spores is only one part.
Yeah, but it could be a cornerstone article, couldn't it? Because it's...
It could be if you think you know, a lot of people seem to be interested in it, which sort of surprises me. So if you looked at it from that point of view, it is, I would say it's very important because a lot of people look for it.
Right.
I've asked the people who wrote it to rewrite it, to update it, and whether we could have videos and stuff like that, but they're not so keen. And maybe it's very good because a lot of people look at it anyway.
Well, it's important that if people are looking at it, then it also happens to be a well-structured and also a fast page for loading up on your website.
Well, I'm guessing if you Google how do I grow ferns from spores, it will turn up as #1. Because while you were talking, I Googled British Fern Society and our website's #1.
Well, is that because you Google? Did you Google it incognito?
No.
I will try it again. Moving on. What's the time? Got to get to the end. Right. So then it moves on to how do you make sure Google finds your website, and it's all about crawlability. And basically, you let your website know it's there. You have a robots.txt file that tells them what it's allowed to do, and you make sure that when it goes and visits a page, it gets the right results. So if it gets told it's a 200, it says that's okay, you can visit this page, and it's there. And if you get a 307, it says, well, you shouldn't be visiting that page because I go somewhere else now. And you can put in special tags to tell the crawler that I'm not interested in you indexing this page. So if it happens to be a e-commerce site and you've got a checkout page, that doesn't really need to be indexed because it's not of any benefit of anybody to go and search for that and go to a checkout page.
Does Google downrank you, for a better phrase, if you've got a page like that and you haven't got a no file or no index on it?
I doubt it, because it probably knows that it's a checkout page. Maybe things like WooCommernce will automatically put those things in for you.
Yeah, do they?
Maybe if you use the Yoast WooCommernce plugin extension, it would tell you all about that sort of stuff. And there's a typo on that one because I'm going to move on quick. So how do you improve crawlability? And the answers are there. Use search appearance to determine default settings. Use the advanced tab. Right, so that's to do with setting those no index and no doodars. And then at the end, look at Google's Search Console and see if it still works. Obviously, I was getting tired when I did that.
It's such a giveaway, isn't
it? And then halfway through this, well, nearly towards the end of this thing, you then get told how to improve your website speed, and you get a 54-minute video with John or somebody talking about it. And it was recorded in 2018, so it doesn't necessarily contain all of the latest stuff to do with core web vitals, but I'm sure it's quite useful. But there has been more recent things than that. So if you want to spend 54 minutes watching that video, there's the link to it. What it does say is make incremental improvements to your site to improve its performance. Don't go away and do a 6-month project to make your site faster. Do it bit by bit. How you find out which one you're supposed to improve is exactly the same as how do you find out which bit of content to improve the SEO on it. So the important ones first. So your homepage is probably important, because if it takes 45 seconds to load, no one's ever going to go any further than that. And then your cornerstone content. The course then goes on to talk about structured data, which is a way that a computer can tell another computer, this is exactly what you're looking at here. And it's very useful stuff to have if you're looking at frequently asked questions, news articles, how-tos, and or products. And it's written in code, it can be written using HTML, but basically Google and Yoast recommend using JSON LD, which is basically just the same content or your content written for computers rather than content written for humans. And here's an example of a bit of a structured data block. So I used the FAQ block in my website blocks.wpa2z.org, and I wrote how many FAQ blocks per post, and you can only use one back block per post. And here we can see the JSON code which is produced for that particular question. So it's the same stuff, but extremely verbose for a computer to understand. If you don't happen to use blocks or code that generate structured data, you'll find it's extremely hard work to do. So that's why you have to use computers to do these things. And apparently, once you've gone through all those videos and it's taken you slightly longer than the hour or so we spent here, including reboot, then you will have completed the course and you will get a certificate like this. WP-Pompey has successfully completed Yoast SEO for beginners. There you go. Isn't that lovely? We're now all supposed to be trained. So what did we learn? Can you remember what those 25 top tips were? I start right at the start. Have we covered most of those things?
If you can print them out for me.
Can I print them out for you? Well, here we go. These are the 25 top tips. That's just reproduction of the page we started off with. So let's just go through them quickly.
Are you?
Are we going to?
Ask them if I want.
I'm going to go through a couple of them. So there's this thing called key phrase research. That's important. Technical SEO, your site needs to be fast. Technical SEO, your site needs to have no 404s if someone visits a thing. And so it goes on. Well, that's one way of looking at the top tips, but I have a different way of looking at them. Let's look at something which would be slightly more memorable, perhaps. There's one or two things you need to know about the topic called SEO. Number one in Google's where you want to be. For 33% click, just you wait and see. Placed second or third, do not resent. You'll still get over 10%. 9/10 of searchers, regardless of age, will only click on the first page. What's it that I'm ranking for? Is a question often heard. Well, my friend, you're looking for the focus key phrase or word. It may be mid or even long, like, will eating mussels make teeth strong? When do two rights make a wrong? How to drain a billabong? Can I rank without a gong? Is this a good time to carry on? Use it in your titles. Use it in your URL. Your first para, metadesk. Give that keyword a twirl. But don't use it too many times. And use it only once. You may not understand this now, but I know you're not a dunce. One thing that makes an awesome site is when you get the structure right, with inbound links to start the day and internal links to show the way, to content written all by you, and prompts to your readers to share stuff too. Your words will always be well writ. You won't write any pile of rubbish. Your alt text will be worded right for those who read without use of sight. Structured data is good at times for how-to steps and product lines. And you and I are not alone to want to search by mobile phone. So make your content bright and clear to access from both far and near. For techie SEO, you'll need no 404s and breakneck speed. HTTPS for a site secure. And keep things up to date for sure. Ranking won't rise overnight. It will eventually if you do it right. And when your keyword's number one, don't think for a minute that your job is done. Switch on the neurons in your brain and start the process once again.
What a thought.
You have way too much time on your hands.
I was thinking, will Shakespeare eat a heart out?
Well done, Herb. Well done.
Very good.
Very good.
So I'm just going to go through a couple more things and then we'll get to the bit. So if you subscribe to their newsletters, you can get lots of emails from them once a week or something, and they will contain top tips like these ones here. So just visit the website and after you do that. And so we're straight into what's your top tip, and these are the replies. We got 11 replies, and how many people left? 16 participants. So some people didn't reply. That's because we're organisers and they don't get a chance to, and other people didn't want to. But here we go. First reply.
Why haven't you put my reply up there? Number 12.
What was your reply?
Can you have Yoast and Rank Math?
That wasn't your reply. That was all right. Well, I'll put that in there as well. But we'll ask.
Why wasn't that a reply?
Because it wasn't a reply on meetup.com. Anyway, we'll cover that one. Right. The first reply was from Richard, and he said, install the Rank Math plugin. And Richard's here, so he can tell us all about it. Can't you?
Yes. Hi there. So I was in an Elementor Manchester meetup last summer, I think it was. And the discussion got onto search engine optimization. And a lot of people actually recommended Rank Math over the Yoast plugin at the time. They quoted that it had similar features to the paid for version of Yoast at that particular time. They've probably both evolved since then, but off the back of that, I tried it on my works website. And the marketing team, they actually prefer Rank Math, quoting that it's better for their workflow. It's better usable for them because it gives them a little list of things that it wants them to do. So it basically stops them having to think about it.
Have you got a working version that you could share with us?
I have it installed on a demo website. If I can share my screen.
Right, I'll probably have to stop sharing and you'll have to start sharing and I'll have to give you authorities. So first thing I'll do is I'll make you a co-host. More. I know I don't want to do that. Right, now I'm going to pause share. I'm going to stop share. You got a chance to share?
Yes. Right. Hopefully that's coming through.
Yes.
So this is my demo site that I spun up. With Rank Math, we do get a little menu, and I've enabled 404 monitors, but we can enable quite a lot on the free tier. One of the things I've just done is an SEO analysis. I'm getting quite a high score on there. It gives me a long list of things that I should be doing. Like set focus keywords, some previews.
Right, can I just ask you how many pages you've got on this site?
Yes, one. There is one page and one post, probably my Hello World post, but let's have a look at my demo post. I've got some code as a demo post. One of the marketing team at work, they actually mentioned that the function to the right hand side was really useful for them to point them in the right direction to tweak their content for SEO. So with Rank Math, you get this button here, and it's showing that I've got 7 points out of 100. So not very good for this particular post. And if I scroll down here, it gives me the ability to actually set a focus keyword. Then scroll down further, and it's actually giving me some points to actually do. So I should be making a slightly longer post. Focus keywords not in the URL, so that's very that's correct. Focus keyword does not appear in the SEO title, so it's given me lots of tips that I should tweak my content in these various ways. And that was one of the things that the marketing team came back and said that actually works really well for them. So updating my focus keywords now improved my score to 20 out of 100, but still not good.
It does seem very similar in terms of in the same way that Yoast SEO comments on that sort of stuff.
Maybe. Yeah, to be fair, these days they're both probably almost entirely equivalent. I haven't really played around with the latest version of Yoast, so would be interested to hear if anybody else uses any SEO plugins, which one they use.
What's the cost of this one, Richard, when you get the paid version?
Yes, this one is, let's have a look. So this one is, if you're a personal user, $59 per year for an unlimited number of sites. And if you're a professional user, it's $200 for up to 100 client sites. But yeah, having said that, I've not really played around with the latest version of Yoast. So I'm really just going on my users' feedback and my experience. There is an SEO guy that has apparently done a migration from Yoast to Rank Math, but I do see that he's got affiliate links. So not entirely sure if his opinions can be trusted on that one. But nevertheless, I'll put that in the chat.
I've put a link in the chat to something from kinster.com, which is Rank Math versus Yoast. And I had a look at it today, and it seemed to be there much of a muchness.
Kinster's articles are really good usually, quite reliable.
Okay.
One question you had though, Andrew, was what can you do about breadcrumbs? Because that's what you're using currently in WordPress SEO.
I think Rank Math has them as well.
Right.
I'm not sure, but I think they do. But I still don't, it's a stupid idea to have both, is it? You told me it was, but...
Well, that was my thought, but they'll both be trying to analyze your content and giving you things. They'll both be trying to put content special output on the page that the user can't see, but the search engines can. So they'll both be taking up computing time, make your website slower rather than faster. And they might even be competing with each other and producing bad results from Google's point of view.
One thing you can be pretty certain of is whatever SEO tools you use, you'll get different results from all of them.
Different
It
results.
does feel like it's a bit of a black art sometimes.
Yeah, you've got to be able to read between the lines and work out what's really an issue. A lot of them give false triggers on things that don't actually matter or don't even actually really exist.
I think Yoast admit that, don't they, on their website? They say, I think maybe this is part of their holistic approach.
Yeah, it's not so much.
You shouldn't always try to achieve the green traffic light in every situation.
Yeah.
Look at the overall picture.
Yeah, well, I'm more talking about tools like SEMrush or ahrefs. They all tend to, their algorithms are all different, so you end up getting different results. Some will flag one thing and some will say that's fine.
is the idea with these plugins really to you have to know what you're doing to some degree yourself, and then use the plugins to kind of like implement that knowledge to an extent?
Yeah, I mean, the plugins tend to work towards the fact that non-experts, so they try and do something for you as much as they can for you, and point you in the right direction. But it's only touches the surface, really.
I think Chris is onto something there, because when I looked at, you get boggled by it. I mean, I think it's perhaps one of those things you have to agree to spend a lot of time on, which I didn't want to. But if you really wanted to go for it, I think you could learn it. It gives you a lot of hints about what you can do better. But you spend a lot of time sort of thinking about it, or trying to work it, in Yoast, they've got a traffic lights system, so trying to get the green light is quite difficult sometimes, or you could spend an awful lot of time.
You can. That's why you've got to really work out which is your most important page and work on those. Who your target audience is, what key terms you're trying to optimize for, and work on a few. As we said, it's an ongoing process. You know, it's going to change. You've got to keep on top of it, and you've got to look at what your competition are doing, see what they're optimizing for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We don't have any competition.
You should be ranking well then, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I've looked at it. We rank top if you put the right thing in. So I think I might be wrong here, but SEO isn't everything, is it? I think that if your site is popular, if you put the right terms in, it will find your site. I mean, it might be different if you're a travel agent or an estate agent, where you've got a lot of competition. But we're a firm society. You don't find many of them.
You're in the ideal situation then.
Yeah.
You won't have to worry too much about it.
That was my conclusion.
With some of the changes that Google made with the last sort of offerings, they have tried to make SEO less important. It's the performance of the site, I think, which they've tried to make more important.
Yeah, the last thing that they've banged on about is site speed, which it is important, but they've also said it will never be more important than having good quality content.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's good quality content that changes sort of fairly regularly, and encourages people to come back and read more.
Also, I guess the thing about SEO to a large extent is if you want the organic searching, isn't it? I guess if you're willing to pay the money, you could be on the first page of Google via ads and featured content, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one of my clients in my day job, they employ a specific company, I can't remember the company's name now, to do their SEO, and they pay a lot of money to them, but they get they spend a fortune on SEO actually, and they do obviously hit a lot of good targets with it. So,
but would they be better spending that money on some sort of advertising campaign on Google AdWords and featured ads?
Oh, they spend it. They spend on everything. They spend.
Right.
Yeah. It's a sort of multi-million-pound company actually. So they do spend on AdWords and everything else. So they'll spend it all sort of on all areas, but they do spend a lot of money on SEO as well. So.
But even a small business, getting an agency to do SEO for you, you're looking at a retainer probably of 300 quid upwards at least.
Yeah, probably more
and
actually. I would have thought, Steve.
Yeah, that's very much the bottom end.
Yeah,
and then you've got other costs on top of that. So you're looking at minimum like 800 quid a month.
God almighty.
Yeah,
I think I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, it's a big money on. If you can master it, it's you can bring in a lot of money with it, because obviously it generates a lot of income for sites.
But there's a lot of companies out there doing it now.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad ones who think they can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, everyone competing with each other all the time. You get to number one day, and then the next day someone else has done a better job on another website, which is your competition, and they get the number one, and you just keep on going over and over the same thing.
Yeah, but it's so many things as well. It took me a year to recover from a change that Google implemented. And eventually it took me a year to track it down to what it was. It was something I changed in Google My Business.
For your own business?
Yeah, Google decided that they classified, they put in your business name and you put something else after it that's not your business name. They consider that as not acceptable anymore. They obviously did an algorithm change, or in fact, I think it was a manual edit that they did, and that my homepage overnight just disappeared. It took me a year to recover it.
What did you put? Scalar Enterprises Black Hat SEO Specialist or something?
I just added on the end web design and internet marketing in the end of it, because it didn't match up with my business name. They said that it wasn't acceptable.
Oh, wow.
But I still haven't got my homepage ranking well again. I've got it ranking on a sub page.
Well, you'll have to join a community and get us all to link to your website from relevant.
Yeah, that's the thing. Backlinks need to be from relevant sites.
Yeah,
that can be penalised at you as well.
Well, I'll put a link from my new website, Best Ice Creams in the South of England.
One of the people at the Cambridge Meetup last week, because we were talking about the same subject, mentioned that one of the best things they did for their SEO was to sign up to Google My Business.
Yeah, that's essential. If you want to rank for local results, you've definitely got to be on there.
Which I found intriguing.
And also get some reviews on there.
Okay.
I'm stealing the... Am I sharing this screen again?
Yeah.
Why isn't it showing resume slideshow? Right. What did Cambridge talk about? So here we go. That was mentioned in Google My Business. That was number 8 of the list of things I wrote down when Cambridge talked about it. They also talked about EAT, which was something authority and trustworthiness. Expertise, authority and trustworthiness, which is an important thing. But it was also something...
It's not actually a ranking factor, though.
Isn't it?
It's a Google guideline. Your content should demonstrate your expertise, authority and trustworthiness.
Wow. It's not ranking factor yet.
It's not a ranking factor, no.
Oh, there you go.
Allegedly.
Apparently, yes.
But then when I put it in the guidelines, don't know.
So here are some other replies. Write blog posts and use SEMrush for keyword research. So who wrote that?
Another one that's good for keyword research that you can use with the free account is ahrefs.com.
Right.
I'll just put something in the chat. I'll put it in earlier on, actually, but this is a really good plugin for Chrome for keyword research. It adds a lot of functionality to Chrome as well. Shows you sort of site visits and everything. It's very good little plugin, actually.
Oh, well, it's a Chrome extension.
Yes, Chrome extension, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Don't forget, if you want to save the chat, just go down to the bottom right-hand bit and click on the 3 dots and choose Save Chat, and that'll be there. And if I save it, I could actually share it in the same way that the Cambridge Meetup shared the chat afterwards, or write some post-meetup notes. So here we are, the other top tips from the members. Check out the competition, pick relevant keywords, have a look at what other people are doing, write good copy, implement SEO, Yoast, and learn more about it, and consistency. And I don't have one.
What is keyword research?
Well, that was this bit where you have to go and decide what it is you want to rank for, and then use these tools to go and find out exactly what keyword you think is the most important one to use for that particular page. And this is where you use a tool like SEMrush, and you can connect Yoast SEO to SEMrush, and then I think you have to go and pay some money to actually use their system. You then type in your keyword and it says, oh, I found people using this and it's being searched for by this many people, and the trend is it's going up and down. And that's why you can use other different tools to do it. Now,
is it good to use a popular keyword, or is it bad?
Well, you want your long tail keyword, which is not necessarily popular. Depends on where you are already in the ranking stuff.
You can use a tool called Uber Suggest, which I put the link in the chat earlier on. It will give you an idea. You can put your domain name in. It will tell you what key terms you're ranking for, to show you some positions as well. The free one's limited to the number of results it shows you, but it gives you a good starting point. And also give you other keyword suggestions as well.
So if you do a search for keyword research tool or keyword research tool free, then you'll get some sites like that on the right hand side. And any one of those different searches you want to do, if you want to know where you are in your ranking and how to measure it, or look at backlinks and all that sort of stuff, then these sites appear quite often and you can have a look at those, but you will get completely bemused by the amount of information that they're trying to tell you. And so maybe just when you start as a beginner stuff, the first thing to do is to make sure that you've done what the basics are. Get your site structure correct. Think about what is the most important thing on your site for people to know about. Make sure that appears lovely and it appears quickly, and then go and see if that is appearing in your results when you go and do searches on related stuff. But if it's not important to you to do the SEO and appear higher in the list, then it's probably just lots of thumb twiddling for unnecessary reasons. More questions? I thought you were about to say something, Clive.
No, sorry.
Oh, come on, as a marketing person. You said something about that. Huh?
I tend to buy it in or put people out to other people. It's not something I enjoy or like getting involved with. So it was really interesting to hear what you were. I was interested to hear what you were going to say about it tonight, just because it is so in depth and you can get so buried in it. It was it's such a big subject. For those that do it full time, it's hugely interesting, and it's interesting. I mean, the first thing is the keyword research and looking at your competitors and seeing what they're up to. The whole thing is just, you can bury yourself in it for days.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost a job in itself, isn't it? Like web design.
It is a job in itself.
Yeah.
That's why I don't offer it as a, I mean, if I'm designing something, I'll put in the obvious things, you even starting with making sure you got alt tags and everything with the images and stuff like that. There's just some really obvious stuff. And if you just build professionally, you tend to put it in. But then to actually do the whole SEO properly, your client needs to be fully involved, really. Otherwise they have ideas of other station and don't understand where the money's going. So yeah, in many ways it's something worth keeping away from, unless that is your job. It's worth employing somebody to do it.
What I generally do, as you say, if you build it properly in the first place, it makes it search friendly. But then I recommend to clients that they let it run for a few months, and then look at the analytics and then see what's happening there. Then you can target a few specific pages maybe to optimize. And then, as you say, get someone else to do it. And then, then they look at the costs and then they decide not to do it.
It's really interesting when you look at just your meta descriptions and keywords on a page, and trying not to repeat yourself, trying not to use the same descriptions and the same search terms on each page.
It's very difficult.
It is when with some of these things, with some sites, you've got a very small subject matter. It might be very, very precise, very small subject matter. And so you'd actually, writing copy for it is really hard, without repeating yourself. And then you try and make the copy as long, in terms of words, as long as you're told it should be.
That's another story again.
And that's, exactly, because you've got to do it whilst keeping it relevant and concise and on track and on story. Otherwise, Google's not going to like that either. So it is so in-depth. It can take so long. It is essential if you want to rank, but so long as you make sure that when the site is set up initially, it is set up properly. That's as far as I tend to go.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. You've got to build it properly.
Yes. Yeah.
Does this kind of like spell a bit of doom for your hobbyist site owner then, who's maybe doesn't have that expertise to start with the English language and writing copy, which is kind of like, it sounds like there needs to be an expertise to some degree about writing posts. So you are using shorter sentences, you aren't repeating the keywords regularly, etc. So it's interesting how that affects a hobbyist who may not have those expertise type of skills.
But if you're doing it as a hobbyist, you're interested in it. I think the worst thing you can do is to not put anything on your site. So as a hobbyist, if you're interested in it and you want to write these articles, get on and write the damn things. Get them up there, get the content up there, because Google's looking for content anyway. And then use the free version of Yoast or Rank Math. If you're doing it at that level, use the free one. If you want to take it to a next level, pay for it. All of those things are such a fraction of the cost of employing somebody to do it. And if Google is doing what it says it is, and it is, if it's data hungry, if it's really after that information, if you're a hobbyist and your information's good, it's going to like your site anyway. So don't not do it. Keep writing, keep getting stuff up there, and let the automated programs guide you, maybe. But don't be afraid of it.
You're also, though, if you're in the hobbyist mode, I guess you're not going to have so much competition either. So it might be easier to rank anyway.
I was just wondering if you write an interesting website, you don't really have to worry about SEO. SEO seems to be more for people who have a lot of competitors, and there's not really much difference between their websites. You know, if you're in some sort of business, so then if you want your business to rank higher than your competitors, then you have to start worrying about SEO. If you have a different kind of website, which is perhaps doesn't have many competitors, maybe it's about your life or something, or your hobbies, perhaps you don't, you know, if it's well written with interesting articles and you're doing all this stuff anyway, and you'll rank highly on
to a great extent. That's very true.
You only have
in your case, Andrew, you're pretty unique. You won't have any competition. So as long as you're writing good quality stuff, and Google can't find anything that's better, you're going to rank.
Yeah, I think
when you've got loads of competitors doing the same thing, talking about the same items and topics, it's very difficult to make your content different and stand out.
Well, what you
interestingly, Andrew Leonard Ferns comes up straight away.
Number one.
How many other sites have come up with it?
I'm not sure, but I just typed in Andrew Leonard Fern and it was just obviously at the top. I mean, Andrew Leonard comes up with I think a US politician or something else first, but as soon as you put Ferns in as well, everything else disappears. And you know,
you have to find something where you have no competition.
You did a good job.
What's your site called?
There's no SEO at all on that site.
No, as you say, you hit the nail on the head. If you've got no competitors, you're going to rank.
Yeah.
I've just done an SEO search on your site, Andrew, and it's the only word that's listed is stuff.
It's what?
Stuff.
Stuff.
That's what it says. Yeah, that's what it says on there. Stuff. What?
Well, that's because I've got, at the top is about ferns and halfway down it says other stuff.
Yeah, it's density 12.50%. So there you go. Try that plugin that I've put in the chat there, keywords everywhere. You can do a search on your particular site and it shows you all the keywords that are on there. So
Abba, you got anything to say? Drew, you listening?
I'll take that as a no.
No. Right, well, it's getting close to the 9 o'clock, so let's just go and do the wrap-up stuff. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments and so on. We'll all go away and do our stuff, and some of us might go and look at some keyword research tools and get completely confused about what it is and go back to things we do understand. But these
Thank you for your hard work again.
These slides will be
thank you, Herb.
on the website, and the video will be broken down into sections, I imagine. May or may not be published. And we have to go and say thank you very much to our global community sponsors: Bluehost, GoDaddy Pro, Cream Geeks, Jetpack and WooCommernce, which enables us to run these meetups and all that sort of stuff. Here we go. We've now got 317 meetup members. A big jump since September, and the reason for that is because we used the WordPress Portsmouth Meetup account for 3 different meetups for the WordPress Translation Day, which lasted a month in September, and Abba was very much involved in that, and if she was there to talk about it, she could do. Notice that Brighton has restarted their meetup. They're having a physical meetup tomorrow lunchtime for coffee and chat. Bristol are going to have a discussion about their meetup back in the end of the year. And Not sure about Exeter, Bournemouth and Tunbridge Wells. There you go. We've still got lots of members and meetups around the world. Thank you very much for the attendees that came today. WordPress 5.9 is the next thing that's coming, and it's going to include Gutenberg version 11.9. I'm not sure exactly what happened in the FSE features go no go thing on the 14th of October, but we've got until December before the final version comes out, and it will appear with a new theme called 2022. The full site editing outreach experiment has continued, and I completely missed both the call number 9 and call number 10 because I was busy doing other things. And WPCalendar, even though it said it was closing down, is still going strong, so you can still find out about meetups that are happening. So next week, for example, there's a Leeds meetup with Tammy Lister talking about Gutenberg patterns, I think. Chris O'Dell is going to be talking at Cheltenham about
test-driven development and behavior-driven development, and how that can help to enrich your client interactions and potentially improve your software quality process.
And if you happen to be a WooCommernce or Elementor specialist, you can find out about those things that go on in that calendar as well. 2 years ago we did that. Last year we did that. This year we've done this, and in November I think we're going to have some more lightning talks and or show and tells, which is going to be a bit of a follow-on from the Cambridge meetup, who are going to do another, they're going to do my favorite plugin. And then in December, which happens to be one day after the WordPress 5.9 release, we'll probably cover what's in WordPress 5.9 if we don't just get together and have a social, because we could actually physically get together now, potentially. Right, so
Bit of a trip for me though.
it is indeed.
Right.
Well, you can do the same as we did at Cambridge. You can appear on the end of a Zoom link.
Yes, that'd be a pleasure.
WordPress 5.8 has now been downloaded 40 million times. Gutenberg 11.9 will be the one that comes in WordPress 5.9. There's 59,000 plugins, 8,800 themes. 20 of those are full site editing themes. And just recently, the total number of downloads from WordPress.org of all the different plugins had exceeded 6 billion. And it was only 10 months ago that the total number of downloads exceeded 5 billion, which means in 268 days, that's an average of 3.7 million plugins being downloaded from WordPress.org per day. Does your website get that much traffic?
No.
What effort did WordPress.org put into SEO? Probably not very much. Anyway.
They're quite amazing figures really, aren't they?
They are. Thank you very much to our sponsors, redIT and 34HP, and see you next month. Right. And I'm going to do my impersonation of Red Dwarf. I just stopped listening. Stop recording.